Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 6 of the Timist Podcast Series. My name is James, and I am the Timist and the host of the thing you're currently listening to. In this episode, my co-host Conor and I pick up where we last left off, specifically wrapping up the recap of the biggest watch-centric event of the year, namely Watches and Wonders 2024. We also talk a bit about what watches were discontinued and also find out what life has been like for Conor as an AD during the Watches and Wonders madness. Lastly, we close things out with a Q&A session. I put out the call on Instagram and you awesome people answered me sending in your questions. All this and more. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack as we get started. Are we going to another manufacturer?
Another one.
Let's do it. Which one is it?
This time we'll talk about the International Watch Company.
Oh.
IWC.
Fancy way of saying IWC. I like it.
To me, it always felt like a Standard Oil. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's like just like a really old name. You know, International Watch Company. Mm-hmm. Just like when companies weren't named like single word, but they were named like, what do you do?
I do this.
Yeah, I make watches internationally. Oh, boy, do we have the name for you.
Excellent.
Okay, so big splash from IWC as well.
Yeah.
They don't always make a big splash. They kind of did last year with the Entrepreneur, but a lot of cool stuff from them. Some of the cool new stuff, well, there's a bunch of new, really cool dial colors for the Portugueser.
I think it's pronounced the Portugueser.
I don't think that way.
You don't think so?
No, but I'm not Portuguese, so I don't really know. But there's a whole bunch of new dials, including like this kind of like summery blue.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was really cool. There's even just like a really nice, like a shiny black. It's not onyx, but you know, it's just like shiny black that has gold accents that looks great. Like every single one of them just looked great.
A desert sand one that, if I'm not mistaken, has the word dune in it.
Yeah.
Sand dune?
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing that and going like, you know, Dune 2 came out this year.
I did it.
Or sorry, Dune Part 2 came out this year. And I was like, I see what you did there. Yes. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, there's like the black and the sandy beige cream color and that, like, I would call like a dusty sky baby blue.
Dusty sky.
Beautiful.
A lot of really cool dials there, which is always important. Like, I think sometimes you're like, oh, just a new dial. It's like, that's what sells watches.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what people want.
It makes a huge difference. Change the strap on your watch and it's a new watch, let alone a different color dial.
And importantly, both available in the perpetual calendars as well as the chronograph versions in precious metals. And then some are also available in steel, because it's always cool to produce a watch that's affordable.
100%.
Not that IWC makes like, you know, discount watches or anything, but you know, $6,000 to $10,000 is something that someone could get, as opposed to like, you know, 30, 40, 50, which is very ambitious.
Yeah, even then it's still up there. Like $10,000 watch is nothing to scoff at. Like it's and having options when you're shopping around at that price range is always nice. But you mentioned perpetual calendars.
I did.
So there's a huge thing. There's a massive thing. There's a colossal thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So, you know how you're always saying, you know, these perpetual calendars are great.
Yep.
But that moon phase, it just gets so inaccurate after 3,499. You know how you're always saying that?
It was just last Tuesday that I was saying
It's like you don't shut up about it. Well, the International Watch Company heard you, and they have produced an eternal calendar.
Get out of town.
Arguably one of the coolest names for a movement I've heard of. I don't know why eternal is so cool when perpetual kind of means the same, but really cool, really cool. I'm not going to try and pretend to be like an expert in this movement, because turns out the more complicated and deeper you go into dates and calendars, the less it makes sense to me.
Math.
Yeah, numbers, right? The sky, celestial bodies. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
So my understanding is that the perpetual calendar lasts until the end of the Gregorian calendar.
Right.
Which is the year 3,499.
The complete watch perpetual calendar.
Yeah, that's got the date and the year and all the, you know, parts that make it perpetual, including knowing leap year.
It's got the time, the day, the date, the month, the year, and the moon phase.
Also shows power reserve.
And the power reserve, right.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's a very long time, right? We're talking another 1,500 years or plus, which is great. They actually are really well known for their perpetual calendars and produce them in a couple different variations, all of which are awesome, both in their pilot line as well as the Portugueser line.
Portugueser.
But the eternal calendar has the dual moon phase, so you get northern and southern hemisphere moon phases, that is accurate for the next 45 million years. Which is a very long time.
We just need to like give it a moment so it soaks in, right? That's insane.
So it's always been my understanding that the moon phase calendar is actually our most accurate calendar. More accurate than any kind of other calendar we have on watches at the very least. So
you figured IWC doubled down on what is...
It's very interesting because you can't prove it.
No.
That,
Conor,
are we going to test it? Oh, no, I definitely can't prove it.
You can't prove it, okay?
Also, it's like, 40 million, 45 million, 50 million. Like, who's going to call you on that? I'm sure there is, like, science and math that actually is like, hey, it's this. My understanding is that after 45 million years, it'll be like a full day incorrect. Which is pretty funny. To be like, damn, it's been 45 million years. And the moon's wrong. It's supposed to be like that tomorrow. It's supposed to be like that.
That's hilarious. That is an absolute bananas thing to pursue. They've filed patents for this.
Tons of them.
Patents, and also reached out to the Guinness Book of World Records, I believe.
Guinness should know about this, yeah.
Guinness should know. And we're not talking about the Rolex GMT Master 2 Guinness. We're talking about the Guinness Book of World Records.
It should know too.
That's ridiculous.
There's also something, and I'm not, this is high horology. I'm not qualified for this, but so the watch calculates for missing leap years at the years 2100, 2200, 2300, 2400.
Okay.
And it does this with a wheel that turns once every 400 years.
That is one slow wheel.
That's crazy. It's really cool, and it's a accomplishment in horology that is unprecedented, and it's really cool. And it seems like IWC wants to really be like, hey, we're the perpetual calendar guys. We do it in steel, we do it in gold, and we do it better than anybody because no one has a more accurate double moon phase than us.
And this one is actually in platinum.
Yeah, and the website didn't list the price. I don't know how much.
I know the price.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Did you request? It's price on request.
It is. Now it's price on request, but I managed to get the information early.
Is it in Swiss francs?
It is in Swiss francs, so I'm going to extrapolate roughly. It's going to be between 150 and 160,000 US dollars. Chump change.
Yeah.
Easy.
I mean, for this kind of accuracy?
Yeah. I mean, when everything ceases to work because of electricity, I will know where the moon is. I and only I. It's very impressive. And yeah, with a name like Eternal Calendar, I mean, you kind of stole the show, I would say.
I mean, people were not expecting it.
No, I don't.
And that's how you steal the show, right?
Yeah. Surprise and delight. That's the secret recipe. Watches and wonders. True wonders.
It's a freaking wonder. Actually, damn, that's a good point.
Thank you.
We should call them wonders.
I love it. What else do you have on the list?
I'm ready to move on to Cartier.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Cartier. Love Cartier.
Do you?
I do. I really do.
Do you love the Santos?
I like the Santos a lot.
Do you like the large Santos a lot?
Well, I own a extra large tank, so I will also like the large Santos.
Well, cool thing about the large Santos is it now has a new complication. It's got dual time.
Oh?
It looks like small seconds. It's kind of laid out similarly. It's like a medium-sized large seconds, but it is in fact another hour hand.
At 6 o'clock.
Correct.
Nice. I saw that. I like it.
Yeah. I think it's awesome to have a new complication in the Santos. That's not a chronograph. Not because I don't like chronograph, just chronograph makes a watch really big. So I'm hoping this is going to keep most of the case size and kind of sleekness that the Santos has when it's a 3-hand and a date.
I'm a romantic. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the Santos being the first wristwatch worn by an aviator, having dual time makes so much sense, right? If you know and you think about it, you go, yeah, I like it. I like what you did there, and I see what you did there.
I promise you Santos Dumont was not leaving the time zone in his basically a kite powered by luck. But no, you're right. No. It totally makes sense. It's a pilot's watch.
Yeah.
It's kind of their casual dress watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool. I'm happy for it.
Same.
I'm sure we'll see more dial colors in the future. Right now, it looks like to be kind of an ombre bank. It looks like kind of brownish.
Brown, slate, gray, something?
Yeah, I've only seen renders and stuff, so I'm not totally versed on it. But either way, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know the price. I don't know the availability, but I know it's going to be like a regular production Santos.
Good.
Good. Available out there.
It's
really
a cool watch.
But what's not regular production is quite a few other releases.
Go on.
And I've talked about this not on the podcast, but personally, privately, a lot, which is Watches and Wonders. We all kind of, and me too, we missed the forest for the trees in that last year everyone was all about the Ingenieur, and I was all eye-twitching about how the Ingenieur was boutique only, right? So it was like, wow, cool, I can't wait to see this. Well, unless you live near a boutique, you're not going to. So that's going to play into what I'm going to talk about now, which is a couple things. I'm sure you saw the Santos Dumont Rewind.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Which has Roman numerals, how would I describe this? In reverse? 11 is where 1 is, and 1 is where 11 is, and accordingly, tell time backwards?
Yeah, so you can't say it's upside down. So you don't turn it 90 degrees on the vertical. You turn it 180 degrees on the horizontal. So like you said, where your 1 normally is, it's now where 11 is. But also what that means is that the movement itself operates in reverse. So it goes counterclockwise. That's extra difficult when you're trying to calculate minutes. Like the hour, it kind of stands out a bit, right? You have the Roman numerals, they are in reverse, yes, indeed. But now when you're trying to say, it's 1:15, you would initially want to say it's 1:45.
Right.
But it's 1:15.
Yeah.
Normally you'd want to say it's 11:45, but it's actually 1:15.
And honestly, it's a novelty. And that's cool. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a unique watch. I think what I was mentioning earlier about missing the forest for the trees, limited to 300.
Oh, there you go.
So
there you go.
Available in platinum. It's manually wound, but they're only making 300 of them. It'll obviously go really fast because it's super limited, only being offered to clients, I'm sure.
But it's such a wacky, weird, special thing that...
it doesn't need to be like regular production.
No, not at all.
Make 20,000 of these and ship them all over the world. Nah.
No. Yeah.
It's cool.
It's super cool, and I think it's one of those watches that will force you, if you don't have your phone on you and you're actually trying to tell the time, it is one of those pieces that will indeed truly force you to pay attention to the watch dial to figure out what time it is, right? As opposed to a quick glance, or just I look down at my watch 3 times within 5 seconds because I've just been too busy just admiring it.
Yeah.
Right? Very interesting, and also something that if someone does notice on your wrist, they go, oh, that's a cool... Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, I kind of like that. That's actually kind of cool.
Right?
That's actually kind of cool. Because usually the ones that make you say that are usually like pretty wild. You know, if it's like, if you're wearing an MBMF or something like that, and you're just like, what the heck is that?
Is that a UFO on your wrist?
It's spinning, and it's made of crazy materials, and it's got all these crazy shapes. And it's not so much that. It just kind of looks like a very fancy Santos Dumont, and then you're like, wait, those numbers.
Hold on.
Is that how Roman numerals work? Am I dumb?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one's kind of cool. What's also really cool is the Privé Tortue.
Oh, yes.
This is a watch that I guess you could say they're bringing back out of the archives.
Yep.
It was existing, again, a very limited run in like the 1930s.
Yep.
I want to say. A really cool watch.
Very
really
interesting
watch.
Case shape.
One of the really cool things about the watch, besides the case shape, which is, again, really cool and interesting, is the monopusher chronograph.
Now say it like the French say it.
With like a cigarette and a coffee?
No, not with a cigarette.
That's how the French say it. What do you mean? How do you say it? You're the one who does great accents.
No, please. Isn't it monopoussoir?
Yeah, it is. But I wasn't going to say that.
Well, that's what I was trying to get you to do.
You nail it so well.
Thank you.
So interesting thing about that mono pusher is that the chronograph version is limited to 300.
So 300 is like their magical number.
300 in platinum, 300 in yellow gold.
Okay.
Yeah, I do believe the other one, the non-chronograph version, is not going to be a limited production, but it is going to be precious metal only.
And I believe it's got an exhibition case back, which showcases the beauty. At least on the monopoussoir. I'm going to keep doing that.
Oh, good. Some new Santos Dumonts.
Okay, yeah.
They're available in precious metal, platinum, yellow gold, and rose gold. Platinum's in olive, the yellow gold's in taupe, and the rose gold is in blue. They call it something else, like peacock blue, I want to say. The straps match the dial color.
Very nice.
Very cool. I honestly think Cartier does a really good job of that without making it look crappy
or
cheesy.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have really, really long relationships with really good...
strap manufacturers?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Arabic numerals instead of Romans, which is an interesting touch. More piloty. Santos Dumont was the pilot we always talk about there. And it's also manually wound.
Yeah.
Not an automatic, which I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you have an exhibition case back, which I'm assuming this, like the Privé does, if you're not having a big rotor taking up half or more of the thing, show it off.
Show it off. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when you're getting a precious metal watch that I'm sure if you're putting the case in platinum, you're obviously going to tune up the inside to be beautiful as well. I mean, Cartier does that regardless in their steel watches, so of course they're going to do it in this one.
Yeah. Make that connection with the user when they put it on. They have to manually wind it. Take a moment, turn it the other way around when you wind it so you can see the beauty.
And it keeps it nice and thin, which is what you want from a dress watch.
Indeed.
This one didn't excite me as much as the others. I think it's going to be really cool. I'd love to see it in real life, and it might change my mind. But I kind of honestly like the steel and rose gold Tentos Dumont. That's kind of regular production. I kind of like that more.
I mean, unless you absolutely hate two-tone, what is there to dislike about that piece?
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Doesn't have a second hand. A bunch of other releases are the ones that they aren't really geared towards the like watch enthusiast crowd. They are impressive watches, but they're much more jewelry. I'm talking about the animal jewelry.
Oh yeah, the Panther.
So yes, but no, they have like watches that are either like literally look like animals or are directly inspired by.
Oh,
like
I remember.
There's some with like diamonds and sapphires that looks like a zebra stripes.
Or an alligator.
Yeah, there's one that's like a chimera, which is a mix of several animals. I think it's a crocodile and a something else, peacock. I forget. But gem flush, beautiful jewelry pieces. They're all $90,000 plus. They're precious metals covered in all kinds of cool stuff. They're much more playing into the jewelry maison that Cartier also is.
Yep.
The one I thought was really cool and I'd love to see in real life is called the Reflection de Cartier, which kind of looks like a big gold bracelet where you have a watch face. So it's like a bracelet that doesn't connect, right? They don't touch in the middle.
Yeah.
The watch face is in that connection point.
On one side.
On one side, interestingly enough, the side that you wouldn't normally be able to see, the opposite side you do see is absolutely mirror polished. So you were reading it off the reflection, which means I suppose if you did look at it, it would be backwards
Would it be
because
reversed?
You're reading it off a mirror.
Right.
Which is just super cool. It's not the most practical timepiece, but it's a big gold bangle. Like that's not the goal. They aren't like, this is our tool watch. Like, no, this is jewelry. This is jewelry and it's a watch, but I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool.
That's so weird and so cool in so many ways because it's a bit like the Day-Date, the emoji Day-Date that Rolex came out with last year.
It's nothing like the emoji Day-Date that came out last year.
It is in the spirit that is, I'm not buying this watch. The two primary functions that this watch is known for, the day and the date, do not function because they are replaced with silliness.
Yeah, right.
Right? This Cartier piece is like, it does function, but in the weirdest way possible, in that if you look at the watch as you're supposed to, it's going to be reversed and it doesn't make sense, but you have to read it from its reflection. That's just...
But it's jewelry first.
Same
with these animal ones. I mean, they even call them animal jewelry collection.
Yeah.
Like, they're a watch. You wear them as a watch. It's jewelry. I mean, it costs as much as most people's entire jewelry collection and then some. So it's intended to be that.
A true wonder.
And not enough people see those watches. They're really freaking cool.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you or I would wear one necessarily, or even necessarily women in our lives, because they're big moments in just things on your wrist, but they're really cool. I respect them for that.
100%. Again, true wonders. What else do you have?
That's kind of all I have for the brands that I really studied, because those are the ones that I deal with directly and I kind of needed to and wanted to. The other ones are just kind of like, hey, did you see this? This is a fun thing. Mm-hmm. Did you see that Patek has a denim strap?
Oh, I did.
It's not denim.
It's denim.
Leather.
Denim-like in nature.
Denim-like. Mm-hmm. I kind of like it.
I do. It's one of those things.
I kind of like it a lot.
It's one of those things. Patek, they're like, yeah, put some denim on it. I'm sorry, what?
But
yes.
I just feel like maybe they're also listening to the people who buy their watches.
Maybe.
And they're just like, hey, I'm not a business guy like that. I don't wear alligator straps and only I wear shirts and I wear t-shirts and I wear hoodies and I wear sneakers and I love Patek and I am a big Patek collector, but I always have to switch out the straps.
Right.
For something that's more casual.
Yeah. And they did it across multiple lines, which is very cool.
Yeah, including like precious metal lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. +1. I'm a fan.
Oh, and the ellipse is back.
Right. It is. That's a classic, understated, beautiful precious metal. Always. Mm-hmm. Patek that very, very, very nice.
Patek is also continuing on a trend that a couple people called out, which was remove steel options, replace with precious metal.
Good. Yeah, that's what we need.
You know, I'm kind of the opinion that, like, if you're buying a Patek,
you better be able to afford it. You better be able to afford it.
And you probably had to get some precious before they offered you steel anyways, so it wasn't like, oh, I only wanted to buy the... I'm sure the steel ones are like $30,000, but I only wanted to buy the, quote, inexpensive one.
Sure, yeah. But like all things being equal, you're like, what are you doing here if you can't afford it? It's like, stop it.
Right? And if you're buying it on the gray market and it's steel, it's cost as much as precious anyways. Yeah. So what's the difference?
Yep. Are you done?
That's all my Patek bits.
I'm going to ask you a direct question.
Uh-oh.
One watch, just one, from Watches and Wonders 2024. Which one's your favorite? Pick one.
I was struck by... Okay, I'm only picking one watch.
Yep.
I can't claim to know a lot about this watch. And if you had just described this watch to me, I would have been like, that's boring, or that's not very creative. But I really like those Vacheron Constantins, those overseas in green and gold.
Yeah.
Full gold bracelets, full gold case with a green dial, which a lot of people have already done. Sure. If anything, doing green and gold in 2024 is kind of like, hey guys, we're doing this too. It's like, yeah, we all did that 5 years ago, but it just works.
Yeah.
It just worked. They look so good.
Truly.
Every time it was, a video of someone, just on their iPhone showing it at Watches and Wonders, I was really struck by what a gorgeous watch. I've always thought that was a beautiful watch. And this one took it to the next level for me. And it's one of those things, like I said, if you had just said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they did this to this watch? I'd be like, yeah, I guess. But, I could get that from someone else or not have it at all because I've seen it before. But
yeah,
sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that just bloody worked for me. That's what I would do.
Completely.
What about you? You only get one. I know you hate picking. And I know you hate isolating things. So
I've already thought about this.
Do both. I guess it is your question.
I've got one. A standout, easy for me. It is the Grand Seiko Birch Bark Evolution 9 High Beat hand wound in brilliant titanium, of course. My favorite metal.
God, that's a great one.
It's a great one, I think. That's also a very long name, so you could just call it the SLGW003. It's Grand Seiko's first fully hand wound high beat movement in 50 years. So that's kind of cool.
I love Grand Seiko.
They're just an easy win. And it is, my opinion, an absolute triumph. It's also a lot cheaper than your choice, the VCs with the green dial. Okay.
I was going ambitious, okay?
I understand it.
I think that's still a $10,000 watch.
What is? The VC?
No, your GS.
Oh, it's a little bit more. It's around $12,000, but it's gorgeous, okay? It's a lot cheaper than the Vacheron that you called.
What's the Vacheron? 15?
15
payments of $15,000.
Yeah, add another zero.
Yeah. Is it really? I didn't even price it out. I'm sure it's a ton.
Who cares? It's a Vacheron in full gold.
I know their steel ones are like 30 grand, so I'm sure the gold is
exactly
got to be like 90.
The Grand Seiko was 38.6 mil. Beautiful on the wrist. It looks like wrist worn jewelry for me. 80-hour power reserve with the power reserve on the back of the watch. Exhibition case back, so the dial's nice and clean and crisp. It is, that's my standout from Watches and Wonders. Again, $12,000 is pricey, but it's not astronomical, right? It's still doable. I think we've run out of like superlatives that we haven't exhausted yet tied to Grand Seiko and their watch dials, but it's executed just beautifully. And of all things, Grand Seiko for me.
Yeah, I would buy that watch. I really like that watch. The last two kind of wonders from the show. Can I just highlight these two? Just because they didn't fit anywhere into kind of what I was prepping for today. But
highlight those wonders.
I think they're so cool. Alongserna Datograph Perpetual Tourbillon calendar. Oh my gosh, with the crazy loom.
Oh yeah,
the crazy loom.
Honey gold, I think.
Yeah. A lot of brands have their own gold. They're no different, but
yeah.
Man, it just is so cool. I'm not even like a huge loom guy. I know a lot of people I've heard people call themselves loom dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't name it. But man, it just a beautiful watch. Always love the Datograph. This seems like the most extreme crazy version, but a wonder.
Plus one, when I first laid eyes on that thing, it just immediately sucked me in, and I was like, what is this? And I started reading, and then as I was reading, I just slowly started to melt away, knowing that's just gonna not be cheap. And I think it's like $250 if not $300,000.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a precious metal datagraph tourbillon.
But that is definitely like that, and the like Piaget Altiplano, the ultimate concept tourbillon. Those are like the watches that you see and you go, "Yup, a wonder and a marvel of engineering."
Speaking of a wonder and a marvel of engineering, and a wonder that what do you do with this thing? Vacheron's most complex pocket watch, the most movements ever put into a timepiece that I assume you can walk around with.
That's a key description.
Right? I mean, maybe you can make like a clock that is the size of a building that can do more.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, so first of all, amazing. Like literally a wonder of engineering. I know it took them years to develop. They already held the record with, I think it was, and these are, don't quote me on this, like 62 or 63 complications. I think this one went to 67 complications. At this point, they're like making up complications.
Yeah. Are there any left?
I think this thing's something like some sort of like Chinese astrological calendar. Like, I mean, it has complications that I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
Or know how to read them.
Right.
But the fact that they made it is amazing. It's like the size of a landmine. So it's a big boy, but
I would describe it as like a small plate.
I would describe it like, you ever see those restaurants that do like eat this burger in half an hour and you get it for free? It's kind of like one of those. Where it's like 6 pounds of meat. I was saying, I think I put this on my Instagram, like, can you call it a pocket watch if it's never going to fit in a pocket?
You
fit
did.
In the pocket of a backpack.
I saw that.
I guess that counts. It goes in a backpack pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
it depends.
like,
hey, I replied to that and I say depends. Maybe you just need to have bigger pockets, Connor.
Hey, I do.
Okay.
So that's, so cool.
Yeah.
Such a cool thing.
Without a doubt.
Just like, it's hard to believe that it even can exist. And yet it does.
So, that's been cooking for like 5 to 10 years by some skunkworks team at Vacheron. They were just like, hey, yeah, when it's done, it's done. Go ahead and keep cranking away at it. Let us know what you need.
I honestly my understanding of some story I heard was like, after they made the last one, they had to be like, well, what can we even do? Like, what's left? You've done everything that no one's ever thought of twice.
Yeah.
Like,
now
what else do you got? Like, you're going to track the mating season of bullfrogs on the thing? Like, I don't know, but it seems like you could do it all.
That's insane. And very, very, very impressive, without a doubt. It's another sort of like feather in the cap of humanity of what we can do if we put our minds to it.
A lot of people were saying that Watch the Wonders were kind of meh for them.
For this year, or?
This year. Yeah. This year explicitly. What's your thoughts on that?
So, as a whole, you have to look at it in aggregate, right? Like, yeah, last year was a bit more crazy. There's a lot more new releases, a lot more out there announcements. But the thing is that you can't do that every year. Okay, car manufacturers don't introduce a new car every year. They build upon what they released a couple years ago, right? So they have intermittent releases and updates. You can't have 2 years in a row with craziness, right? So it makes sense that this is, by that definition, a meh year, right?
Sure.
I liked it. I was happy. I enjoyed it. I had that magical buzz feeling waking up day of and, checking out the new releases and reading on latest and greatest. I enjoyed it. But yeah, compared to last year, it's slightly less exciting. But again, you can't have that every single year. It's going to be a high and then a mid and then maybe another mid and then maybe another high. That's the nature of the beast, in my opinion. What's yours?
I mean, yeah, I think that's all very well true. For one thing, we go back last year, there wasn't one the previous year. So It wasn't like last year's happened after, a Watch the Wonders after Watch. There had been a several year break. So it kind of makes sense that there had been a long period of time with basically no debuts. And the watch industry was pretty kind of going nuts in all kinds of ways, both from an increase in people paying attention to what's going on with watches, as well as just simply having to deal with the pandemic and all that dealt with. They got to do this every year. I also feel like a lot of people are disappointed because they wanted a specific thing. They wanted to see the GMT Coke come back.
Sure.
And when it didn't come back, they're disappointed. They wanted to see the Tudor Submariner come back. And when it didn't come back, Right. When it didn't come back, they were disappointed. But it's like, that's not the game that the brands are playing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, our most exciting thing is the thing we did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, like, it's not really, that's not exciting to them.
Yeah.
Even if, you don't want to buy the version from 2004, you want to buy the one from 2024 or whatever. They're not making that watch. But, like, they're following their own path. You can't expect them to do what you want just because you want to buy it.
Yeah, but that's a recipe that folks usually have a difficult time discerning through as a whole. It's people that are like going, I don't understand why you would make the deep sea in full gold. You don't have to, because it's not for you.
It's not for you.
And it doesn't take anything away from, other releases, right? Be excited for X, Y, and Z. You don't have to love everything.
And guess what? They do it annually.
Exactly.
Close your eyes for 11 months.
Yeah.
We'll be here again.
And also, it doesn't look like they only wait until Watches and Wonders. Like, I'm sure we'll see more drops from different brands throughout the year.
Of course. And, other big companies like all of Swatch Group, for example, doesn't even do Watches and Wonders.
Exactly.
And there's releases patented throughout the year that are unrelated.
And just even, we talked about it briefly, but let's just look at the 100-year Le Mans edition. That wasn't released during Watches and Wonders. It was released during the 24 Hours Le Mans. And now that is arguably the most sought after Daytona in recent memory.
Definitely.
Right? So yeah, I think people's expectations need to be tempered a bit and understand that you can't have bangers every year, because then it's like, well, what else is there? You'll end up being like VC, where like, we've done everything. What else can we possibly do?
What do you want from me?
What do you want? Shall we go into the next phase?
Yeah.
I am curious to go behind the curtain and ask the question, how has life been to you, specifically, Conor, as an AD during the Watches and Wonders 2024?
It's an overwhelming time. For the most part, very few exceptions, I get my news the same time you do in regarding these releases. And by that, I mean all at once. It's not like it's like, hey, Rolex, you're debuting at 2 o'clock. Tudor, you're up at 4. Vacheron, you have the noon spot, and everyone does a presentation. It's like, no, it's just the doors are open, and it's go, go, go. A lot of the brands do, like, virtual trainings day one, but it's kind of like it's not last minute as in like they're ill prepared, but they're letting us know last minute, so it's difficult to attend. And even then there's like so much going on, and you might be at work kind of thing where you're already doing a thing. People have questions about like, how much is this? Where is this? When is this? What is the size of this thing? And it's like, dude, I know what you know. So I want to be ahead of things, but I'm really just like trying to be on pace with everything that's happening. And it's really important for me to know things like, how many of these are being made? Am I going to have one in store? Do I need to special order it? Will you send it to me, or do I need cash from a client today? Like, when should I expect one? When should I expect 5 more? All this information is really important. And that's like the interbusiness side of things. But like, that's what actually gets these watches in people's hands. And I really need to know them. That's why I thought it was really interesting to see this information about those Cartiers I was talking about. A lot of them made a big splash. Yeah. But 300 mono pusher chronographs is not a lot.
Mono poussoir.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that's 300 for the world.
Right.
Right. That's not 300 for this region or this state or even this country, which is big enough. 300 watches for the United States is not a lot of watches. Not 300 watches for the entire world is very few, or whatever the number is. So it's an overwhelming time. Thankfully, honestly, people are really understanding. They're not like, what do you mean you don't have this watch? I just found out about it yesterday, in Geneva. Yeah. And it's like, dude. So people are chill about that. That's not really, thankfully, a concern of mine. But it's, I want to be ahead of the game, not being like, man, same.
Yeah, right, right.
Oh yeah, I also saw that. I wonder when it'll be available.
Right, because your role partially is to set expectations, right?
Yeah.
And technically, from like the other side of the counter, you're the professional.
Totally, yeah. Like, people are calling the store because they're like, oh, I saw this. I should, talk to the authorized dealer and find out what they know, because they're going to know more than me. And it's like, kind of.
Yeah, right. But I'm assuming that a lot of the information that goes out is specifically held back even from ADs, because they might be worried about leaks.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, that's potentially releasing information to a lot of people. Like, one email sent to a, maybe it accidentally got sent to a former part-time employee kind of thing. And suddenly, so-and-so's secrets they've kept hidden for who knows how long is spilled.
Right.
So they need to be really safe about that. And that's smart on their part.
No, but it's a matter of like making the general public and enthusiasts like understand that oftentimes it's not that I don't know or not that I don't want to tell you, but the information just literally hasn't been released yet, or bear with me while we get our ducks in a row.
But brands do a good job being prepared. Like most of them have training platforms, it's apps or websites or whatever where they update it recently. That's how I was kind of finding out about like the sea dweller deep sea separation and other things like that, or like the limited amounts. Those are all available through the brand's kind of information. It's public information too. It's not like those are secrets. It's just, but it's exciting, but it's kind of just like, hey, all of watch news got dropped in a day for the year.
Right.
Like
by and large, basically.
Not every brand, but a lot of brands, the majority of brands outside of Independence and Swatch Group for the most part, just put out their entire year's worth of stuff, including discontinued, which we didn't even talk about yet.
That's true.
Discontinued stuff, things that people have been waiting on or wanted to get that they can no longer get.
I mean, I know I was texting you periodically, but I didn't want to harass you too much because I was just expecting waves upon waves of text messages and calls and voicemails and emails just heading your way.
Yeah. Some goodbyes, some discontinuations from Rolex. Palm and motif dials.
They went the way of the dodo.
Yep, they're gone now. Day date 36's old Roman numerals are now being replaced with the new Roman numerals.
Segmented ones.
And, of course, the entire Yachtmaster 2.
Yes.
Which was both available in steel and gold, is gone all the way. So an actual discontinued Rolex watch. Not the most popular Rolex watch, not the most requested, not the most seen, a very complex Rolex watch.
I mean, second most complex.
Yeah, really complicated chronograph movement, very niche in terms of the role it was meant to fill.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gone.
I definitely appreciated the color combinations.
Great color combinations.
Super
white
fresh.
And the blue with the steel. Yeah.
Very pleasant, very nice.
Very busy.
Very busy and pretty large.
A big watch.
But yeah, interesting thing that it got discontinued. That and the Le Mans basically, and the Paul motif and the Roman numerals.
And the motif tiles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, here's to it coming back in a couple years in a more usable case.
How will we time our regatta races, James?
Listen, I've transitioned over to satellite timings. Personally, I don't know about you, but I'm okay for now. I won't lie, I do like a wrist-mounted regatta timer.
I will have to hire additional crew, additional seamen.
You poor thing.
Why are you laughing? I'm just hiring additional seamen for my crew.
I understand.
It's not funny at all.
I understand. I mean, we've been doing this for a while now. Maybe we just cut it down to one Q and A. Maybe one Q and provide one A.
Okay.
Let's do that. So some of you know that I've put out the call on Instagram, and you kind folks have responded. And we have one question coming in from Noel, also known as watches_NFR10 on Instagram. And the question that Noel is asking is, which do you think will be the brand with the most growth in the near future?
So, I mean, a couple ways you can interpret growth.
It's true.
I'm going to think about like sales and popularity rather than, well, we can break it down a couple different ways. But in regards to that definition, sales and popularity, I would say Tudor. I would say that Tudor is already obviously a very successful, well-known brand. I think it can do even more. It can expand its catalog. I think it has a great reputation, a great style. It's really focused in what it does. It's not really all over the place with, hey, we've got these crazy watches and look at these ones. And, we're trying to make, sport watches, and we're trying to make dress watches, and they're really focused on what they do, and it appeals to a large variety of people. And this watches and wonders. Yeah. Those big two watches, that GMT for the 58 and then the Black Bay 41 in the monochrome color, those will both be really popular. They'll bring in even more people. I see like no limit for what Tudor is doing, especially at the extremely reasonable price band compared to their nearest price competitors.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, it's
better, but they have a lot of growth. I think they have a lot to do.
Yeah, it's a surprising answer given that Tudor is already so well known, but there's more there. If I were to answer that, I would stick to a larger brand and put my eggs in the IWC basket.
Ooh.
there's more in store. I think there's more that they are able to showcase and wow us and wonder us for this year. And their Eternal calendar is a good indication, I feel like, of just how much force, planning, strategizing, and momentum that they're gearing up to pick up.
There's so much more than Pilots Watches.
There's so much more than Pilots Watches, indeed.
Yeah, I think this year's Watches and Wonders was a good exhibition of that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm guessing for the near future, which is what Noel was asking. But I think we're going to see more, and I think they're just warming up.
Outside of big brands,
yeah,
I think the independents.
Yeah.
I think the studio underdogs. I think the Christopher Wards. I mean, we can go on, but there are other really popular, great brands who are basically tackling the industry different.
Yeah.
Not focused on brick and mortar. Yeah. Fair. You know, like a lot of really cool, Faerer?
There's Fairer.
And then there's Fears.
And then there's Fears.
Yeah. I was in the other one.
Very good.
And we could go on, right? But like, there's a whole bunch of really cool, differently operated brands that you're not going to see sponsoring F1 teams, that you're not going to see in your local watch shop, most likely, because the enthusiast based is now online.
Yeah.
Like this podcast. So people are already shopping for their watches there. You know, the greatest competition for a brick and mortar store is not the other brand, it's the internet. You're not worried so much about, that boutique down the street, or, so-and-so just opened a store, or whatever it is. Like, you're worried about Chrono 24, or you're worried about someone who says, I don't need to go to a store, I'll just buy it online and get it shipped to my house.
Yep.
So these brands have big role to play in the evolving watch world.
And also, we don't know, like another 2020 can happen and things can change at the drop of a hat. So really,
I'd rather it didn't, honestly.
Well, yeah. I think that's it. I think that brings us to the conclusion. Don't you agree?
I do agree. And I suppose this means we have to do it next year.
Yeah, I suppose it does. Poor us. And on that note, it's time to conclude this episode of the Timist Podcast Series. A sincere thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself and had some fun along the way. If you did, then please push all the buttons that will help you hear more of us in the future. And a special thank you to my co-host Conor. If you want to continue the conversation, you totally can. Find us both on Instagram. Conor is Watches and Blunders, and I'm The Timist IG. Just remember to add underscores between every single one of those words. Thanks for listening. I'm The Timist. Be well, and I'll catch you in the next one.